Hi there, my name's Alistair Kennedy and I'm the Sociable Social Worker, and I give practical advice to social workers and those wanting to foster and adopt. In this video we're going to look at some ways to pass your next social work interview, and this comes as part of a playlist, and this is part 3. So I'm going to present you with some questions that you may be asked and I'll provide you with the answers. So let's go. So one of the first questions they might ask you is, why should we hire you? What should you be saying? You should be saying, I believe I have the required skills and knowledge outlined in your job spec or your job description to do X, Y, and Z to this project or this company that I want to work for, to ensure that the service continues to provide positive outcomes such as, and you need to provide those positive outcomes. And pick a line from their annual report or an annual review you've read or an Ofsted inspection. That will be impressive. Competency-based questions. Now, you've probably heard this in other videos, what a competency-based question is, so I don't need to explain it. But it is primarily, how would you deal with this certain situation? And most of the time what you need to do is explain from your past experiences how you would approach certain situations. Some of the ones I use are mainly around team working and complex situations that have involved other sectors that I've worked with. It just shows partnership working, cooperation and communication. This question will be asked primarily for the new social worker. Why did you choose social work? Now, I've said in other videos, don't say to make a difference. Everybody says to make a difference, and you'll have heard that in my other videos, and it's true, just don't say that. Say a positive response would be, I've always had a strong feeling of social justice, and that's part of my ethos. I believe that social change is achievable, that I can empower my clients to achieve change, and I can be a social change agent. Seems a bit wordy, seems a bit out there, but believe me, take some of it might work. How would you prepare for home visits? Now, this is a question that they're asking you to see if you weighed the risks and you have worked through what you might do in a home visit. Now, it's very different because obviously we're during COVID and you're doing some of the visits online maybe. So you need to be prepared to answer how has things changed online as well with home visits and what risks do you need to see. But also you might need to even talk about PPE and that kind of safety. But the crucial thing is they're wanting to know how you would approach that. And what I would do is use your past experience again, like you did in the competency-based question. Anti-D and anti-oppressive practice is returning to interview questions. It died off a little bit, but it's returning again. And it is a core part of social work and it's never really gone away. So it's something that we all try to achieve. And what I would do is I'll leave you a link below for BAS1. And they've got a really good detailed discussion point about anti-oppressive and anti-discriminatory practice. This is a question that's always asked in interviews. What legislation or guidelines underpin your practice? Now, I've talked about if I had £1 for every time people didn't know the legislation, I'd be a millionaire. But think about what I just asked you. What legislation or guidelines? And guidelines is the key because that's a wee bit different from legislation. So make sure you know what guidelines cover your sphere of practice as well, because they may just ask you that. And that shows that you've done some wider reading. Theory or practice? That's a question they might ask. Theory or practice, which is more important? Now, this is again down to your being able to interlink theory and your practice and what you've learned at university or what you've learned from wider reading or what you've learned from your training courses. And you need to put that into perspective and use, again, the experiences that you've had. And make sure you don't mention anything that you have not got a rock solid knowledge of. So for example, I was once asked about pedagogy and I tried to pretend that I knew all the information there was about pedagogy. I didn't. I got caught out, not the first time, but then the second question when they followed up, and I floundered and I failed that interview and I didn't get that job. So make sure you know your theory and your practice and how they interlink. And the final point that you might get asked is, how do you keep up with social work ideas and social work legislation and social work guidelines? And I always say to people, try and take half a day a week to do your reading from community care, from newspapers, from professional social work magazine, from BASWA, or anything that's relevant to your sphere of social work. And you need to get that over, that you do that half a day a week reading. No matter how busy you are, that shows your commitment to reading, to learning, and you get over to them that you're consistent in your practice and your productivity as well. I've time coded this video so you can go back and actually look at some of the questions, which might be useful. Leave a little gap and then answer them, and then think about what I've said afterwards. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. That'd be really helpful to me. If you want notifications, ring the little bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, best of luck in your interview, and let me know in the comments page how you got on.